So in less than 24 hours, voting will start for the midterm elections. Democrats, Republicans are in their final stretch of campaigning. Now, these polls, as I mentioned, decide who will run the Congress. The U.S. Congress has two chambers. First, the House of Representatives. It has 435 seats in total, all of them up for election. Second chamber in the Senate, where out of 100 seats, only about one-third are being contested. The results will set the tone for the next 2 years for Joe Biden's term. If it concludes with a strong Republican showing, it could upend many domestic and foreign policy plans of the Biden administration. The midterms are also important for state-level polls. This time, governors' mansions are also up for grabs in 36 states. State-level lawmakers, secretaries of the state, attorney generals will also be decided. Some of the key issues related to the economy, they've become a top priority for voters here. Most states, the views are divided along partisan lines. Since the 2021 capital rise, democracy and election authenticity have come under question, and Democrats have been constantly touting this midterm as a way to save a democracy. And then we have abortion rights that continue to resonate strongly for Democrats, while Republicans are more focused on current jobs and immigration policies. There are some other common issues that usually do flare up around this time, like education, climate, public safety, gun control here. President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, they're not running in this election. They are rooting for their party candidates, however, and will be there to energize the voters. But the focus has been this time more on the 2024 presidential election rather than the midterms. The midterms take place 2 years after a presidential election, so it's seen as a referendum on the performance of the current president. However, it's also a litmus test for the opposition. The Republicans are monitoring their base as well, and also how many could vote in red in the next presidential election. As per past trends, fewer voters typically cast ballots in the midterms.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Moving on now, for more on this, we're being joined by Jason Thompson, who's a member of the Georgia Republican Party State and Executives Committee from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
Midterm elections, key for shaping the policies going forward in the United States. How do you assess some of the key issues for voters this time, and how equipped do you think the Republicans and also the Democrats are in effectively addressing these issues?
Well, I think a lot of this just boils down to, when you go to different a football field or a baseball game and you listen to real people, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford to put gas in their vehicles, and this is squarely can be put upon the Democrat Party, and that's going to be reflected tomorrow in the vote across the country. You can count on it.
Right, absolutely. Now, in most states, views are also divided along partisan lines. Since the 2021 capital rise, democracy, election authenticity have come under question. What is your take on this? There are also other issues such as gun policies, immigration laws. So what do you think?
Well, of course, there's a lot of other things that people are concerned about, but they have a hard time even focusing on anything else when they have to try to provide for their families. And so you can talk about gun violence or abortion or whatever else, but really when it comes down to it, if you can't feed your family because of stupid policies that Democrats have implemented, that's what's coming back to haunt them right now. A long time ago, the Democrats used a phrase called it's the economy, stupid, and really that's what's going on now. And they're learning their own lesson, I guess, of what they said in the past. This will be reflected nationwide. And excuse my attire right now. I just got home from court and I changed. I almost forgot about the interview. I'm a trial lawyer and I've been in court all day long.
Well, that's okay. Thank you so much for taking our time for us. Now, what would you say is the mood among the voters, and how do you see it affecting voter turnout? As per some reports, there's some sort of inertia and fatigue that has set in. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it is seen as a referendum on the performance of the current president. Now, you just mentioned some stupid policies, to quote you, by the Democratic side. But there are other issues that resonate with the Democratic voters as well. So what do you make of that?
I think those issues that they're trying to get to resonate with them are not gaining steam, was my whole point, because there are issues that are much more important. You know, when there's an old phrase that all politics is local. When you go to the store, though, and the groceries are way too much. When you go to the gas pump and some people just can't afford gas anymore. It's things like that that are the real problem. So any issues that are, so-called Democrat issues that they want to use, is like a lightning rod or something to get people excited to get out and vote. It's just really not working for them because of these just meat and potato issues for people with gas and food and things like that, when they just can't afford, interest rates are skyrocketing, and it's a real problem for the Democrats. And like I said, it's going to be reflected nationwide. I think there's going to be some surprises in some places too.
All right. Well,
like, for example, down in Georgia's second district, a long-time incumbent, Sanford Bishop's running again for re-election, and Chris West is neck and neck with him. And the national media is really not paying a lot of attention to this race, but there's a good chance the Republican could win that. And it's one, that they're just really not talking about. I think mainly because it's not in a metro area.
All right. Well, Mr. Jason Thompson, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with your inputs on this.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.